Welcome to Homestead Reptile, and I'm going to show you guys my maintenance routine. So what we have coming up first is just my 40-gallon aquarium. So in the day, I used to mostly just keep fish. So still am big in the fish community. I have right here 4 golden dogo loaches. 2 are for my grandmother, who has a pond. She has golden dogo loaches that she recently lost a few to raccoons, unfortunately. We saw these in the pet shop. I picked them up for her. I told her pick some out. I'll have some for myself, 2 are for her. It was towards that winter period of time where it wasn't really a good idea to put them into her pond and to wait a little bit until it warms up so you didn't shock them. And they were quite small, so they were about the size of my pinky when I got them. You can see how much they've grown in that short period of time, being well fed. So these guys are super interactive, lovely little guys. So she's going to be getting the 2 biggest gold ones, and I'm going to be keeping the normal colored one and 1 small gold guy for myself. So these will either go into a pond for my own pond, or I will keep them in here. It really depends on how I feel. Because they're very interactive, and I really enjoy having them. So this is just a community aquarium. They're enjoying their breakfast. A lot of community fish. I have some rarer species. I have more common species. But they're a lot of fun. Fish are a true joy to keep. You can see it's really heavily planted, and I recently moved, so these plants are still getting established. It used to be more plants than fish in there. You'll just have to wait for it to reestablish itself. So this aquarium runs on a 75-gallon canister filter. So canister filter, I have a wave maker in there that I can turn off and on. It's a fancier one. Tons of live plants. That's about it. You can see they're really enjoying their breakfast. So I feed these guys twice a day. Once in the morning, once closer to night. So this is a 20-gallon high conversion kit. So this door comes from I Heart Gecko. I'm just going to give her a spray down. So this is the cage for my breeding female, obsidian butterfly. She's a dark charcoal phantom lady. She produces some amazing dark babies. She's a great gecko. One of my oldest geckos. Actually, my first crested gecko. She's about 4 years old now. So I haven't been breeding crested geckos that long. Only about 2.5 years. So this next enclosure is my dart frog enclosure. So this species is a thumbnail dart frog. St. Isabella's. And then I have captive bred mourning geckos in there. So I originally started out with 2 mourning geckos, and now I have, I don't know how many. I gave up counting at a certain point. A lot. So just wiping the glass down with my fiber cloth towel and spray it down with some dechlorinated water. Well, it's not dechlorinated. It's well water. There's no chlorine or chloramines in it. And using a white vinegar water solution to clean the glass. So if you live in the city, you're going to want to use a dechlorinator because chlorines and chloramines are not safe for amphibians at all, and they're not safe for fish. Some reptiles are hardier than others. But chlorines and chloramines aren't necessarily good for humans to be drinking all the time either. This next enclosure is, again, it's another 20 high conversion kits. The doors all come from I Heart Gecko. All these enclosures that used to be aquariums, the doors came from I Heart Gecko. I have multiples of them. I love I Heart Gecko. They have some amazing conversion kits. They've moved up to a 40-gallon if you want to get really big. So this is my breeding male. He is a hypo red spot Dalmatian, and he has a few oil spots. So He's such a bright red that I never see the red spots on him. So he's almost just a red phantom. But he has them. You just never see them when he's fully fired up. Gorgeous male. He's extremely interactive. He'll pop off out of his enclosure and pop onto my hand. And he likes to stare at the fish. He likes to stare at the fish because he wants to kill and eat them. He loves his insects. He's a very predatory gecko. He's more like a chihuahua or a gargoyle gecko in his love of protein, animal-based protein. But he just loves his insects. He loves meat. And he's very interactive. And he's not a fearful gecko at all. He's my best handling gecko. Bringing him out right now. Show him off a little. It's not the best lighting. This lighting doesn't give him justice. He's a lot brighter red than this. Maybe I'll pop a photo in of what he actually looks like. But he is a gorgeous, handsome gecko. One of my best. And he's my breeder for this year, and he'll make some really nice reds, hopefully. Again, he's a first-year breeder, so we'll see how well he does. I'm just going to pop him back in, tap to the butt, and there he goes. Just a quick spray down. If you've ever noticed this, if you keep certain tropical reptiles, their scales are hyperphobic, so that water will beat up and just roll right off their body. It's very interesting. So this is that little aquarium he likes to watch and fantasize about eating these little guppies. So this is just a 10-gallon fancy guppy or breeder aquarium. So I just put my pregnant mamas in here and they release their babies in here. So those plants you see above are for nutrients transfer. So they just take up all the fish waste, grow, look pretty, and keep the water clean. And it's good spots for all the baby fry to hide. So they're just getting a little bit of brine shrimp. So these guys are mostly guppy slash Indler crosses. So I'm trying to breed something that stays a little smaller or could be a little bigger, but something that's very cold hardy. So Indlers are more cold hardy than guppies. So it's just a little project to breed a cold hardier guppy. Something that's not super babied. They're really enjoying their food. So this is my little tank. There's just a little beta hanging out in there too. So I'm waiting for him to eventually move him out to another aquarium so I can take the heater out eventually. I'm trying to figure out which aquarium he should go into. But he's loving life in here, and it has a lot of Indian almond leaves and tannins in there, and he's going through a little bit of a fin recovery because he nipped his fins recently, so this is his recovery aquarium. These guys are just eating some finely mashed brine shrimp, freeze-dried brine shrimp. So this is good for the adults and also the little babies here. I'm just enjoying their brine shrimp. Simple aquarium. It's a lot of fun to keep fish. Very beautiful animals. But fish are a lot of fun to keep. Very interesting. But you can see here, they're just fishing around, eating, enjoying themselves. And this next aquarium is my 5-gallon fancy guppy tank. So this is actually a breed of guppy. They are panda guppies, and they're a tad bit hard to find. So this is just my aquarium to keep their strains pure, because they are a bit of a pain in the butt to find. And that's just a Galaxy Koi beta in there. And those right up here are my 12-quart baby crested gecko holders. And those are my other baby enclosures. Those are the bioactive 12 quarts. Now all the ones that have name tags have geckos in them. And those down there are the 10 gallons. Again, those doors came from I Heart Gecko. Popping back over, we can see some of the dart frogs came out, just two. I believe those are 2 females. Just dart frogging around. And you can see I have some space for some new enclosures. I'm probably going to do about 3 new ones, 20 highs with the I Heart Gecko conversion kit. This is the newest enclosure I've set up. It's also a 20 high with an I Heart Gecko conversion kit. It's growing in really well. Just going to give this a spray down, wipe the glass, and then you can see there's a little turd on the leaf, and I have to blast that off right there. So I do that because the cleanup crew, it's easier for them to get to the feces if it's on the dirt floor. Springtails and isopods prefer to eat the feces on the dirt floor. They will go up to leaves, but it's a little safer for them to go onto the dirt floor. The geckos don't see them right away, and they won't, snack on them. Which your cleanup crew will become snacks with certain geckos. Certain geckos will clean them out. You'll have no cleanup crew, so you should keep a supply of cleanup crew on hand, like a little breeding colony, just to toss them in here or there. I have to do that with all my enclosures because most of them get eaten. The only enclosure that I don't ever really need to replenish are the garter snakes enclosure. The garter snakes don't touch the isopods at all, which is nice. You can see here, this is a nice enclosure. It's really starting to grow in. So what we have coming up next is my saltwater tank. So this is a little nano saltwater. So I have clownfish, soft corals. I have 1 species of hard coral. It's a plating monty. But you can see just cleaning. We're doing a little bit of giving these guys a little bit of food. A lot of people will tell you saltwater tanks are hard. In my opinion, I don't think they are. This is my first year keeping one. Might be a little biased because I have a lot of experience in general in keeping fish. I've been keeping fish since I was at least 13, and I'm 26 now. So I've been keeping them for a very long time. But clownfish are very sassy. They're sassy little fish. And they have that very weird, jerky swimming pattern, which, if you didn't know anything about clownfish, I would think they have some sort of swim bladder disorder, but that's just how they swim. It's just how they do it. They do it in the wild. It's that weird, wavy kind of side swimming pattern they have. They do that to rub up against their sea anemone buddy and basically rub all over them to tell them I'm not food and to have an immune system, an immunity in their slime coat. I think their slime coat is made up of something different compared to other fish, and I think that's why the sea anemone doesn't eat them. But been thinking about getting an anemone, maybe a bubble tip. I have to think about it because they can bubble tip anemones. Most anemones can go on a walk. They can move around, and they can sit on other corals and basically kill them. They can get trapped into your filter and get shredded. So there's a lot to worry about that. I do like them, and I like that bond, that symbiotic relationship between them, but there's a lot to worry about it too. So this next enclosure is my senior citizen tank. So this is a 40-gallon Exoterra for my leopard gecko. So she's an old Leo, very old. I got her when I was a super little kid. So she's 23 or 22. I got her as a birthday present when I was so young, when I could barely take care of her. My parents mostly took care of her until I got older. But always wanted one as a kid. I still have her today. That's nice.